Lastly, I want to introduce Zachary Turner with Climate Control. He's an in-home estimator for Climate Control, which is a Portland, Oregon-based residential HVAC contractor. That's my hometown. So glad to have you here, Zach. Zach has an architecture and home performance background and uses a home as a system approach to helping people select replacement HVAC systems. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So yes, to speak to picking the best heat pump for your home and your climate, I would suggest that you first think about making yourself a good candidate to have a heat pump, so that you do think about the weatherization and home performance piece first. And I'm talking about air sealing, insulation, drafty doors and windows, shade. So these basics, and this of course applies to any HVAC system that you choose, not just heat pumps, but as a starting point. And then Rob talked a little bit about, heat pumps is a pretty broad, there are a lot of different forms of heat pumps. So there are traditional systems where you might, just similar to a furnace and AC. I think that's an outdated way to do things, but you might have a furnace and a heat pump, and the heat pump is your primary go-to. Or if you're ready to make that leap to all electric, you do a heat pump with an air handler. So the air handler is that box that would replace the furnace. There are the ductless or mini split systems. I prefer the one, I love to work with these ones that do work through your existing ducts, so ducted mini splits. I'd also like to mention a big brother to the mini splits are called VRF, variable refrigerant flow. I call them super splits, but it's something we borrow from the commercial side, and they're pretty sophisticated. So if you have a bigger project, they're a great option. There are even some that will move heat around in a space, pull heat from one space to give to another. So there are a lot of options under this rubric of heat pumps. I work for a pretty traditional outfit, but so I go into homes where people aren't necessarily thinking about heat pumps, but over and over, they're just a great option. The process to arrive at an informed selection and sizing of equipment looks a little like this. My first focus is the home, actually, not right to the mechanical equipment, and how the existing system has been working and what the homeowner's expectations are. So focusing on the home, I'm calculating the correct size of equipment, either for the whole home or for different areas of the home that you want to control separately, that we would call zones. The name of this calculation is called a manual J load calculation, but it's really a thermal model of the house or the different spaces. From there, I'd go into the detailed inspection of the existing mechanical equipment, the ductwork, and yes, that means putting on a suit and physically going and looking at the ducts, because there's a lot of just real simple fixes, and a disconnected duct or really leaky ducts. And looking at the electric panel, making sure there's capacity for these electric systems. Sometimes checking out the airflow to different rooms, because airflow is really critical to these systems working well and meeting people's expectations. So if you have a more difficult home, if you're in a more extreme climate, or if you just want to have a super home, the highest performance, then there's another level where you would actually bring in a company that tests how leaky your home is. So they would do blower door testing, where they seal up the home, they pressurize it, and they find where it's leaky, and the idea would be to fix that. So that's a whole number of steps that really determine that, get you on a path where you can make that selection of what type of heat pump is appropriate, and certainly put in the right size equipment, because it's all very efficient and has this nice range of what it can do, and you want to match with that to what you're actually needing for your climate. So the heat pumps, they come with specific, a number of rating for how many tons it can deliver or BTU capacity. But the reality is a little more nuanced. There's something called a performance curve about, how much at the actual temperatures in your climate, how much heat does it deliver? And so you can look and it will quickly become apparent the difference of that not all heat pumps are the same. There's some that really excel at cold temperatures, or some that will really cover all of you, and you may not need a backup heat source. And so I'm thinking about the right size of heat pump, and also for the extreme situations, what might be needed to make up the difference, if anything is needed at all.
Great. Thank you, Zach.